There we go. That's much better. Look,
Hey.
see the lines on the thing?
I can see it. We're not flatlining, Connor, so we're good.
Not yet. That'll be me in about a month. It's okay.
The same.
So it's been a while since we've done one of these things.
It's been 8 months.
Has it really?
It's been 8 months, brother.
It feels like a year. So this is the first time doing one of these since I moved, which is really sad. You could say we've been on hiatus, which is not an appropriate term.
A long, almost a Fall Out Boy length of hiatus.
What?
Like
I know nothing about that band. So.
Years.
Fall Out Boy. Oh God, you're gay. That's fine. It's all right. Hey, we're back though. Cheers, Mike.
We are back, and guess what? We're in 2020. So now, I'm gonna tell you.
I hate you. I hate you already.
I'm gonna tell you.
I'm gonna kill you.
Remember, Connor, it's 2020.
Yeah, I know. Don't remind me.
Oh, I will.
Yeah, several times.
It's a new decade, Connor.
Several times throughout this podcast.
We're no longer in the 2010s. We're in the 2020s.
It's kind of crazy to think about, though.
Yeah.
I figured it'd be a nice start to the decade is, going back and starting to do another podcast episode for once.
Yeah. Those 11 subscribers really clamoring for a new episode,
Yeah, I was shocked to hear that. When you told me that earlier today, that was shocking to me. I didn't think we'd had that.
Even had that much? I know.
I'm surprised we had 11. This is a podcast for no one. What are you talking about?
I was going to say, I know.
That doesn't matter.
But this year we do plan on being on SoundCloud, which would be a lot easier and more convenient for people who actually do care about listening.
Yeah, that'll be cool because also
because they can actually turn their screen off, and actually still listen to it. Whereas
that's
YouTube,
right.
it doesn't have that.
Yeah, see, I'm cheap, so I don't have the YouTube. What is it? YouTube stuff thing, the premium.
Oh yeah, YouTube Red or whatever it is.
Is that what it is?
I think it is. I could be wrong.
I don't know. All I know is that I don't have the YouTube subscription thingy. So yeah, when I try the rare occasion where I watch a YouTube video, which is crazy to say, I'm not like you. I don't go down the YouTube rabbit hole like you do. But I do not spend a whole lot of time on YouTube.
I spend an abnormal amount of time on YouTube. It's actually pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. But the rare occasion I do watch a video, there have been several times where I would love to turn off my phone.
Yeah,
like
if you're
while I'm
listening to
driving,
something,
like while I'm listening to this podcast, because it's such quality content.
quite the quality.
It's
if you will say so.
Yeah. Uh-huh. So you told me earlier that you had a topic. We've got so much stuff we could possibly talk about in the last, I don't know, 6 to 9 months.
Yeah.
Last time we did one of these stupid things. You were kind of throwing topics at me. What were one of those things?
Well, one thing that I think would be cool to talk about is, it's short answer is like millennials in the workplace, in the corporate world.
That's a good one.
And the reason why I bring it up is because, throughout my...
Are you going through some things you need to talk about now?
I'll keep that between me and myself.
Okay, all right.
But I will say that,
Fair enough.
The limited experience I've had in the corporate atmosphere, I've noticed that, generally speaking, most companies are usually run by people in an older age bracket.
Yeah.
Some might call them boomers,
Okay, boomer.
Exactly. But what I've noticed, and I believe you and I've had conversations about this in the past, but when you're working with older people, you notice that it's kind of like...
It's their way or the highway?
It's kind of like... It's kind of like having a baseball coach as a dad, and it's going to make it a lot harder for you to work than anybody else, right? So if it's you compared to somebody else who's in their 30s or 40s or 50s, they expect less work out of the 30, 40, 50-year-old because they've been around.
They've quote-unquote been around the block.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate reality, but when it comes to working in the corporate world, there's a lot higher expectations for millennials because unfortunately, a lot of millennials in our age bracket tend to be pretty lazy or job hop a lot.
Which is crazy. That's another thing that we can get into at another point. But you've told me that several times, and the the job hopping thing, it's like I feel like that's not that wasn't a thing, or at least back in the day you kind of had a job and you worked there for a long time, and hopefully you can get some sort of nice retirement out of it, and a pat on the back and here's your retirement fund, I guess. But now it's like you have multiple, like a lot of people have more jobs more frequently now.
Yeah, I mean, we're at the lowest unemployment rate we've been in,
which is good
since
and a
the
bad
Obama
thing.
administration, right? Which is great because it means that there's a plethora of jobs available for a lot of people, especially if they're looking. But it can prove difficult to be in our particular age bracket.
Oh yeah.
Between you and I, we're very passionate people.
Yeah.
About the work environment we work in, right? But there's a lot of from our age bracket, I would say, sometimes unreasonable expectations because we value our work-life balance, right? Like it's obviously if something needs to get done, it's very necessary to stay and get it done.
Yeah.
But if there's no incentive or it's not necessary to stay and burn the midnight oil, it's an efficiency thing, right? If I don't have to be there past 5 o'clock because I can get my stuff done before then I don't see the need to be there.
Yeah,
but
especially if you're on salary.
Yeah, exactly. It's not max 40 hours for salary; it's minimum, right? It's a minimum requirement for salary, which is fair, But at the same time, if you're not compensated well enough in pay or in other types of accommodations, it can be a little difficult to kind of motivate yourself to go and burn that midnight oil, as I would say.
Yeah, I'm definitely like we kind of have different atmospheres at work. Well, we definitely have different atmospheres at work, but
for sure.
Yours, there are some battles that you have to face more than I,
right?
For sure. But one thing we definitely do have in common is the back to the whole
passionate, right?
Well, no, I was gonna say older people being in because I'm definitely the youngest person at my job. By a long shot.
And I'm close to one of the youngest people, especially given my particular job role.
Yeah.
Considering my role in the company, I'm pretty young compared to a lot of people that would normally be in that role.
Yeah.
So it's not, unfortunately, it kind of ties into what people would call corporate politics. It's not about the quality of work that you deliver. It's about, putting skin in the game for the company to kind of prove that it's worth their incentive to join the company and grow and establish yourself a nice lengthy career with a company. And it can be a little difficult sometimes for our particular generation, and I want to harp on that a lot because with our generation, what I believe is there's a nice fine line between efficiency and laziness, right? And unfortunately, our generation takes advantage of laziness instead of efficiency, right? And uses a lot of excuses that some older people might find common among our generation.
Which is, it sucks, and it really sucks because I hate being part of our generation.
I agree.
I absolutely hate it, and I despise my own generation.
For the small percentage of millennials who are in that same boat as us, some people call us the doomers, right? It's
the doomers. Why do they call us the doomers?
So they call us
fuck? It's retarded.
I know, but the reason why they call us the doomers is because we're specifically for you and I.
I just think of the video game,
right?
Doom,
right? So for our specific generation, we were just old enough to remember what life was like before the internet, right?
Yeah.
We still remember DSL. We still remember dial-up.
We
still remember knocking on the door. We still remember calling on landlines and actually hanging outside and hanging out and socializing with people.
Yeah.
But, we went through
the good old days.
A revolution, right? Kind of like the Industrial Revolution, but it was the internet revolution. And that changed the face of the world, right? Just like the Industrial Revolution did for America.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a very specific generation that exists in that in-between. And that's us, right? Like we're just old enough, but we're still developing through the internet, so we're accustomed to it, but we still remember a time before then. And, with that gives us an access to information that a lot of people don't.
Yeah, I know. And that, dude, I can't tell you how many times I would hear that from old bosses, one in particular that I'm thinking of. But, like so many times, like I've heard like, oh, you have access to so much information. Like you have the internet in your pocket. Like, it's true. But, at the same time, it's like, do you really expect me to Google everything? I had an old boss that would say that shit all the time. I would ask him a question, and he would just look at me and be like, I don't know, Google it. I'm like, all right, dude, fuck you.
Awesome. It's funny that happens because, at my previous job where I worked in retail, I had customers that would actually drive 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours out of their way to go to the retail store that I worked at.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And
retail store.
It was a simple Google, right?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, they came from a generation of people who aren't used to using Google for a lot of the unknown information, right?
Yeah.
So they would go to the expert, which is fine, right? That's fair.
Wait,
but at the same time...
Who's the expert?
Well, the people that are working in the retail environment, right?
Oh.
The people who are actually working in retail. Yeah, like me and my coworkers would be the, quote-unquote experts of the area. So they would go to us, just like you would expect anybody in a time before the internet to do, right? You go to an expert, they tell you what you should and should not get. But in this day and age, everything's about money. You can't find a good mechanic who's willing to just give you what you need.
Dude, yeah, that's another thing that that's one particular thing that way more than I do about cars. I know a little, not a lot.
Right.
But I'd still wouldn't say I know enough to not be taken advantage of at a
happens for a lot of people, man. It's a small
mechanic
percentage of people
shop.
who actually understand enough. And even, especially when it comes to like cars,
so hesitant to do anything.
There's so deep a level of knowledge when it comes to cars that
especially
even
now,
at my knowledge, I don't even know that much compared to some people, right? Like
cars are getting so freaking incredibly complex now. I mean, shit, we have cars that drive themselves now, Nick.
Yeah, I know.
That sounds 2020. That sounds real 2020 to me. How it's appropriate now that we're in a new decade and stuff.
And it's funny because, I'm all for electric cars, and I'm all for people who...
Are you, though?
Well, hear me out, right? So I am to an extent.
Explain yourself.
So the reason why I'm for it is because there's a lot of people in this world, the majority of people, who really don't
know how to drive?
Well, there's a lot of people that don't know how to drive, but there's a lot of people that really don't care about driving, right? They just want to get from point A to point B.
Yeah, cars are just cars to them.
And for those people, I think having an automated self-driving car is great because those people are going to get there. They're going to get there safe.
The computer can drive better than them.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
And when the computer can drive safer than they can, that actually causes less collisions. It causes less traffic.
Yeah, that I get.
And I'm okay with that as long as it doesn't affect the people who choose to drive. But the downside is we live in a capitalistic society, and the insurance companies are going to take advantage of that.
Oh, no, yeah, that's another...
Right?
Dude,
so when there's less people on the road who choose to drive, the insurance companies are going to go after those people because now the statistics
and that
have changed.
pisses me off so much,
right?
Because I love driving.
Me too.
I mean,
we both drive enthusiast vehicles, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, we both have our own vehicles. We both drive standards, too.
Yeah.
But then I also drive other vehicles, for work and other reasons, that are automatics, but at the same time, I drive all the time, every day.
Well, I don't know if I've talked about it in the past, but I could say the big reason why I like to drive manual, other than the excitement of driving a manual, is...
It makes it more fun.
It keeps me in tune with the car and to a level where I don't find myself distracted all the time, right? If you're driving an automatic...
Or bored.
That's what. Yeah, exactly. Bored, right? If you're driving a car, you find it a lot easier to want to start searching.
Oh yeah.
Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook.
Because we all want to do this.
Yeah, because we're all
crane our necks down and look at this device that's sucking our life away.
Yeah,
I know.
It's an instant gratification device now, and a lot of it ties to the addiction to dopamine that social media provides people,
and it
right?
can get you out of awkward situations. It'll make awkward situations a little less awkward when you pull out your phone and be like, I'm doing more important stuff. I don't want to socialize with anyone right now.
Yeah.
That's, yeah.
Just tell me you're reading a work email or something like that. You know what
I'm doing stuff. Yeah. Don't worry about it.
It's more important than you. It's fine.
Go away.
But, that's the only downside to... Well, there's a couple downsides to, society going towards more electric and more automated cars is we live in a world where in America we don't have the infrastructure to run electric vehicles, right?
Yeah.
Like a good example is California is pushing really, really hard on top of Ford and Chevy and a lot of name brand companies are trying to push for more electric, more self-automated cars, right? It increases the safety for human beings. And there's a lot of good incentives behind that, but the problem is that we're not... Unfortunately, we're not Japan, right? We didn't get a start over after World War II.
We didn't get a hard reset.
Yeah.
So they were what was that? The 40s?
Exactly, right? If you look at some of those countries who got a nice reset in their infrastructure, their internet's faster, they have more electricity, a lot of things are more efficient. And unfortunately, in America, we don't have that. So when people are wanting more electric and cars like that, I find it hard to believe that we're ever going to get to a point where all cars are electric.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to be around when that happens.
And that's fine for me, right? Like
Because if it does, I'm killing myself.
yeah, right.
I'm gonna honor kill myself.
No, Connor, you can get an electric car with you can get engine noises that play through your speakers.
Yeah.
You know.
No, what I'll do is I'll buy a Tesla, and then will it allow me to run into a wall by myself? Like when I take over. Can I hop in the driver's seat and then just go 120 into a wall?
Absolutely.
Sweet.
Yeah. And then you'll die in a big, huge battery fire.
Ooh.
So you'll be electrocuted and on fire at the same time. It'll be pretty sick.
Do they have acid in the batteries? This is a really dumb question. So I'll get acid burn too?
Yeah. Sweet. Yeah. You're going to get all sorts of nice little fun burns.
Can't wait. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if remind me, we've been all over the place, but what were we talking about before? Millennials in the workplace, right?
Yeah.
So, nice little tangent.
It's all right. We had to have a little bit of a kickstart to our podcast.
Doesn't bother me at all.
I had to force you to drink before this.
I know. I was a bit nervous. It's been 8 months.
That was shocking. What I just saw, what I witnessed about 10 minutes ago. I never thought I'd see that again. I think the last time I saw you do that was I had to have been like college or New Year's Eve or something. You're just pulling on a handle of whatever alcoholic beverage. Yeah. I was impressed. Good job, Nick.
Well, sometimes I gotta pull out
the
card in the back pocket.
Whereas me, that's just every night for me. It's okay.
We all have our own vices, right?
True. It's all right.
But yeah, so it's interesting because, as humans, we go to the internet, we go to people, we go to a lot of different places and people to get what's called validation, right? So, and the validation is, it helps people understand that what they're doing in life is making the right decision, right? Mm-hmm. Am I going the right path? Because there's no rule book on how to be a human, right? Like you have the consensus of the society.
Or what to do in life.
Right? Yeah. You have the consensus of the society, which says, have a kid, get married, have kids, grow your family, get a house, and do the typical stuff, right? But we live in a day and age where, at our age, it is on the decline. It is, and for good reason and bad reason, right? The downside of the downside of the decline of birth rates in our generation is that, that's a lot of passed down genetics that aren't getting passed down, right?
Yeah.
Especially in a world where sometimes it's necessary, right? Depending on what kind of race, ethnicity, or whatever you are, when you have a decline in birth rates, that can cause a pretty drastic effect, especially on a generational aspect, right?
Yeah.
But the reason why is because we live in a world where divorce rates above 60% now.
Oh yeah.
Is
it really?
Yeah. Jesus. I mean, and the reason why is because we live in a world where you've got Tinder, you've got Bumble, you've got OkCupid, you've got Grindr, if that's what you're into.
Grindr?
Yeah.
How do you know about Grindr? I mean, that's true.
Just,
did you find anyone yet?
Don't ask. But what I'm getting at is that sex is more available than it's ever been.
True.
Right? So when you have males that are hypersexualized, right? And you have women that are also being hypersexualized, you get a community of people that are willing to go out of their way to have sex with people they've never had the access to before, right?
And then
prior to the internet, it was all about your local areas. You go to a bar.
That's true.
Or it's like a movie, right? You're telling
me that 20 years ago it was not possible to drive 3 hours to see some date you just met online.
Yeah. Nowadays, you can search within a particular radius, and you can drive, if you want, 3 hours to get some strange, right? Like
some strange, yeah. But, true.
And it applies to both sides, right? Women do it, men do it, right? It's because sexuality has been so sensitive to the world that we live in, right?
Uh-huh.
And for some people, that's great, right? For some people who don't want a relationship, that's fine. Now it gives them an avenue to meet people they've never met before. But when it comes to having a serious relationship, which can prove to be a little difficult, right? Because less and less people are going to bars to meet people.
Why do you think I have trust issues, Nick?
Yeah, exactly, right? It's unfortunate, but when everything's hypersexualized, then now you run into the issue of
over-sexualized society.
Yeah, but that's so what happens, right? So the point that I was getting at was when you have an over-sexualized society and they have access to sex a lot more than before, people are having kids more often on accident, right? because people are having unsafe sex or they're not on birth control or
being
whatever it is.
Silly. Those damn kids.
And when they have these kids with these girls that are to them probably really attractive, and they have a child, and then they start a relationship because they have a child.
Wait. Well, you said really attractive, and that's it. There's no other qualities that they care about. You're telling me there are no other qualities that they care about.
Well,
other than
it depends on
attractive, comma, that's it.
Well, the reason why I say that is because when you look at Tinder and Bumble and all these apps where you're swiping left and right,
all of the whores,
based on how they look, that's where relationships come from. People who are like, this girl's really hot.
Don't read the bios,
and I actually had a child with her, so I guess I'll have a marriage. Yeah. And then they end up getting divorced because they didn't actually get to know each other.
Yeah, that's true.
Prior to having a child,
a lot of dumb planning on people's part.
Squirrely little line tangent, all ties back to the fact that our divorce rate's so high, and our generation doesn't want to have kids. We don't want to get married,
and we don't want to do anything.
And we don't want to do anything about it. Right?
We just want to sit on our damn phones and
for the majority of our generation, yeah. Whether it's our generation or the generations below
all of
us,
the posts and all of the likes.
Well, and the reason why social media is so important is because of the dopamine fix that you get from it, right? It's that gratification, the validation, like everything's relatable in some way, or shape or form.
I feel like I'm kind of lucky because I don't get on social media a whole hell of a lot.
Yeah.
And I mean, I hardly ever post anything.
That's true.
So maybe that kind of contributes to certain things, but I don't totally get off on all of the likes and posts, and I just don't care. I honestly, we were having this conversation earlier. It's like we want the people in our lives that we care to have in our lives.
Yeah.
So it's like, I have a lot of people on Facebook that I like, and that I definitely like keeping in contact, especially for work reasons. But other than that, I really don't care. I don't care if everyone wants to know what I'm doing and what I've been up to, unless we're having a one-on-one conversation and then I reach out to you or vice versa.
Right.
But anyways, that's just me. I think social media is good for certain things, and I think it's terrible for other things. For businesses, it's great. For, people having actual real-life social skills, I think it's terrible. So, but again, that's just me. And that's just me being a get-off-my-lawn old man about Facebook and stuff.
Which there's nothing wrong with that, but when you work in a world with people who are from older generations, it can prove difficult in the work environment, right? You've had a couple experiences where you put in some hefty overtime and they're questioning, what did you do?
Yeah.
And it's like, why should you question the integrity of the work that I put in?
Yeah.
You know that I'm a hard worker, so if I'm working 50, 60 hours... I'm here
putting in the work, and I'm getting shit done. Why are you still questioning what I'm doing?
But unfortunately, in the world we live in...
Or why can't I get why can't I get what I'm asking for?
What's proving difficult is that you've got two different generations that are struggling really, really hard to communicate, right? You've got our generation, which is on the breach of, the internet revolution, and you've got a generation that's old... way past their age when it came to the internet revolution, so they don't really understand how we communicate or how we process information or how we get our work done. Whereas for them it was, I gotta work 50, 60 hours a week,
just do it
just because I got to, because society around me needs me to work that kind of hours before. Whereas we live in a safe world where it's not really necessary.
Well,
and unfortunately, we live in a world where it's not the quality of work that you give. It's, it's the, like I said earlier, it's the skin in the game, right? It's, it can be difficult to kind of work with that, right? It's, there's no compromise from their side to my side, but it's all a lot of compromise from my side to their side.
Yeah.
Unless you work for a company that's more progressive, but that's few and far between, right? And sometimes
I feel like it's getting more and more that way because as we know, history moves left on a trajectory. Yeah, which so that will become more and more as society progresses. But I don't know. When you say progressive, do you mean you get like a ping pong table in the break room and you get to like
it really depends on the company and the people you work with, but
you get nap breaks. You get nap breaks at work. That'd be cool.
I wish.
That'd be cool. Wait. If you're okay, this may be a question for your significant other, but she's a teacher, so like, does she get nap breaks with the kids?
I don't think so. No,
okay, that'd be cool.
Because there's
though.
a lot of lesson planning and there's a lot of other things that go on while the kids are doing whatever they're doing.
Do kids still do nap time?
I don't think they do in elementary. I think that's like kindergarten.
Oh, damn. Okay, that's depressing.
Yeah.
Oh, the things we used to do
But
as a kid that we absolutely hated.
But I didn't get nap time in elementary school.
I did in kindergarten.
Like pre-K.
Yeah,
and
in like kindergarten. I think
yeah.
that was where I
for sure did.
Remember breaking out that trifold mat and just having a little siesta.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, right? So,
sorry, I'm getting off topic.
It doesn't bother me. I care less. But as you said earlier, right? The world has a tendency to move left, and what he means by that is more progressive. The give and take.
I mean, just look at history, dude.
Right. It changes. You've got a world where people want more for less instead of working harder for more.
Which is, I guess you could say, might be a downside of capitalism.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, yes. Right. Capitalism's not perfect.
I never thought about it like that, honestly.
What people don't realize is that when society moves more progressive, it's that's old.
Yeah.
I don't want that anymore. That's old.
Yeah.
They don't actually take the time to think about
what good things have whatever.
There's things that famous people have quoted, and I can't quote exactly who said it, but I can tell you
some of those people.
I can tell you that if you want to move left, you have to remember where you came from.
Oh yeah.
Right, and where you came from isn't going to get you to where you want to go. Right, and the reason why I say that is because you have to remember what got you there. Right. And you have to think about the things that are helping you get to where you want to get.
Like, for instance, how are we able to have packages delivered at our front door within 2 hours? That kind of thing? Kinda, maybe? Yes? I don't know, man. I'm just trying to follow.
So, okay. So let me think of a better example. So if I'm working in a corporate environment, right?
Give me examples.
50, 60 hours, burning the midnight oil, that is a very common trend for older generations, right?
You don't think that's now at all?
It is because
a little bit,
because corporate
maybe?
is still run by older generations.
Maybe that's just because we surround.
And I don't want to come off as
a
a millennial or a leftist by any means, but the point that I'm getting at
because
is
we're
that
not. Let's just throw that out there right now.
So we still live in a corporate world run by 50, 60, and 70-year-olds, depending on the company you work at, right? And because our generation has so much more access to information and we know how to do it well, we can do things a lot more efficiently. We don't need 50, 60, 70 hours to get the work done, right? We get it done more efficiently.
That is true.
And we also have the internet, and the internet allows us to look back at history, right? And we have the ability to kind of predict the future to a certain extent.
Oh,
right?
I know. Yeah, we do.
So when you have a good understanding of the past, the present, and the future, generally speaking,
and the trajectory of the country,
you know that there's a balance between enjoying your life and working hard to get what you want in life. There's a balance.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, older generations don't always see that. If you look at older generations, you've
I
got
know.
people who have
just bust their ass and didn't give a shit about their social life or
busted
like
their
anything.
ass for 50, 60 years just to
'cause
get a
they had
retirement
to?
check from the company.
Or-
but in this day and age, you've got
Yeah.
companies that are firing people that have worked at the company for 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
A week before they were going to retire.
'Cause it's-
just so they wouldn't have to pay it out.
That is kind of fucked up.
Not
but
to mention we live in a world where the government isn't going to pay us retirement. We're not going to get that
Exactly,
shit.
no.
Retirement's already fucking used up by our our grandparents and possibly some of our parents.
Yeah.
Right? So there's no incentive for people like us to work that long if we're not going to get a benefit out of it. And if it's a common trend for people to get fired a week before they retire,
No, I know.
what's
And
the point?
That's what I'm like. Yeah.
You know, you and I are fortunate enough to where we grew up in a fairly traditional household where we understand that it's important to work really hard.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's no question
Or
about
at
that.
least
We're very
have your
passionate.
priorities
We
set.
work really hard.
Yeah.
We set goals. We try to meet those goals. We're always growing.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, most of our generation doesn't do that. They take advantage of the laziness side of the line, right? We try to take advantage of the efficiency.
Yeah.
Communicating efficiency versus laziness to a generation that doesn't understand that.
doesn't know what efficient or they don't
very
care
difficult.
because they're so fucking like dead set in their ways. They want to do it this way, and fuck what you think. My way has always been the way, so we're gonna do it that way.
And it's funny
because
because
it drives me nuts.
And it's on both sides, right? You've got people who are older They think more traditionally, and they're like, this is the old way, and it's going to be this way forever.
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
you've got the polar opposite, where it's like, no, you can't do anything old anymore. It has to be new and progressive all the time.
Which you got to find a happy medium.
And unfortunately, communicating that between two different generations is very difficult.
Yeah.
And you and I are stuck in the middle, right? We're stuck between older
Yeah.
generations and newer generations, and there's a balance.
Yeah.
But communicating that is very difficult, right? I don't need to work 50, 60, 70 hours to get work done. I don't.
Yeah.
If I have to stay late because
will.
there's a deadline coming up,
Yeah.
I will.
Yeah, same here. I mean, there have been days where I've done the same thing.
Absolutely. You
It's like
work
there
50,
are been-
60 hours more than I do, right?
Shit, not anymore. But I mean, I mean, and I'm glad that I don't have to. I mean, but there are, yeah, I mean, like there are days I'm where I go home on time, and that happens a lot more often than it used to, which is cool. I mean, I still have to sit in traffic for a while, but whatever. Yeah. But there are days where, we hit, the crunch time in a job or whatever it is, and I stay late, and I'm like, okay, this shit's got to get done. Let's get it done. Whatever. This has got to be working by the time I leave here today. Cool. I'll figure it out.
But if you don't have to stay after, are you going to? No, not unless you want to avoid traffic, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, shit. If I work, till 8 p.m., all the traffic's gone.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Besides trying to avoid traffic, is there a heavy incentive for it?
Sometimes.
And to prove my point earlier, if you do work overtime and they're questioning what you did in that overtime, that can prove to be very frustrating because it's like, why can't the quality of work that I bring to the table be important enough for you?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's not. It's what people call corporate politics.
Yeah, especially when I'm, when sometimes you're the only one doing the overtime.
Right.
Which, I don't know, I don't know how pay affects that, but at the same time, it's like, okay, guess what? I'm the only one staying here and getting this shit done.
Yeah.
Why am I getting questioned at all when I'm the only one that's actually doing this to get stuff done? Why am I being questioned?
And that kind of ties back to the original point of the conversation with millennials in the workplace is if you work too much, it gets questioned.
Oh, yeah.
And if you don't work enough, you don't have enough skin in the game.
Perfect example of that.
And that in itself is very difficult to do in this workplace.
Yeah.
In this type of world that we live in, right? Where you've got communication differences between generations.
Yeah.
And there's no compromise on both sides, right? We're stuck between, a majority of our generation being lazy bastards, and you've got a majority of people who are boomers or older that really don't understand
they're hard-headed and they have that one way and they're dead set in their ways and they don't want to change.
Exactly.
Which I get because I'm a creature of habit too, to a certain extent, but it's like for business, I always try and like tell people, my bosses, coworkers or whatever, it's like, there's different, you can do one thing so many different ways. So if I'm trying to like figure out a way or even just suggest, I'm not telling you how to do it or, I'm just making suggestions of, hey, maybe could we try this or could we, try doing it this way or whatever. It's, I don't understand why people, I'm like, I don't understand why I'm not even getting any thought on any of my suggestions where it's like, this could make you like overall, like this could make you more money. Like it's less time. It's a better way to do things, and you don't have to pay me as much because I'm working less hours.
Couldn't have said it any better,
like,
right?
Why,
couldn't have said it any better.
Why does that make like? Why do I have to listen to your one way that maybe been always the way you do things, but there's so many better ways to do it. I can give you 3 options right now on why your way sucks. No, I'm kidding. That's a little harsh, but. Still, you get what I'm saying.
Well, and that's the point that I was trying to make earlier is that, you have a break in communication, right? You've got
where the young people speak in memes and the old people don't know what a meme is.
Sure, right? It's we've got one way of doing it, and that's how we've done it for a really long time, and we're going to continue doing that.
Yeah.
And to my point earlier, what got you to where you are now isn't going to get you where you want to get. Right. Take some things that helped you get where you're going, and keep them with you.
Yeah.
Right. But there's a couple things you can let go of.
Yeah.
To help you get further. Right. It's an efficiency thing, like you talked about earlier. Right. If certain things are important to bring with you. Right. That's the traditionality. Right. Things are traditional for a reason because they work.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that there isn't a little give in certain areas
and there's
to be more efficient.
Yeah, and there's not. That doesn't mean there's like not several other ways that this could be improved upon
Yeah.
or tweaked so that it's more efficient.
Yeah.
Because there are so many things that, like my job, on most days where I'm like, why can't we do it this way?
Right.
And you'd be shocked at the amount of kickback I can get sometimes.
Well, and it's unfortunate because in most colleges, colleges are more progressive, as we all know, and almost to the point of diminishing returns, right? Like you're so progressive that you're not actually getting any benefit out of the students that are graduating.
Yeah.
But the point that I'm getting at is that in colleges, they foster a lot of different ways of getting things done. But what they don't tell you in college is what it's like in the real world working with people who aren't willing to compromise or look at a different way of being efficient.
Yeah.
Because when they look at you, they're like, "Oh, you're 26. You don't know anything. You haven't been doing this for 15 years."
Man,
and it's so aggravating.
That gives me such tired head. I don't need. I hate that.
We have so much access to information and so much access to history and the future and the way things that work that we don't need 50 years of experience to know how to do things.
Like, yeah, cool.
We don't.
I have all this access to information. Yeah. Cool. You're right. You know what? Okay, cool. Then you know what? I'm probably smarter than you think I am.
Exactly.
You know what?
But
unfortunately, I'm not very smart.
But nobody likes to talk about it. But we have a big old dunce cap on our head that says millennial on it.
I know, and
they're like, you're 26, you don't know what you're doing.
Exactly.
And
oh my God.
Okay, well, teach me.
I can't.
But let me also put my quality of work into play and prove to you that I know what I'm doing.
Everyone that tells me that. I've heard that so many times.
It's so aggravating.
And it is very aggravating. Because oftentimes, I mean, you know me, like, you know what I do for work and stuff. So it's like, I'm surrounded by a lot of old people. Not old people.
Me too.
Older people. Yeah, you are too. But it's like, and like I said, I'm the youngest at my company by a long shot. and then also there's that, and then the clients, we're dealing with certain people that aren't with the company, but there are people that you have to work alongside of or work for or work with. And I just feel like there are so many times where I'm not taken seriously because I look like I'm, freaking 16.
Exactly.
Which is, whatever.
And what's even more annoying is that if
I got the braces off, so that kind of helped.
Between you and I, we've put in the work to prove that we're competent in what we do for work.
Yeah, or at least
But unfortunately, at our age and the people that we work with, it's not enough.
No.
You have to put skin in the game. You have to burn the midnight oil just to prove that you're willing to sacrifice everything in your life for this job.
And we do that too. That's the thing.
We do.
We'll work,
if we have to.
Our buns off.
If we have to. But if we don't have to, then it's not necessary. Let us enjoy the life that we have. I don't want to be 50 or 60 years old, look back and be like, wow, I missed my 20s, my 30s, and my 40s.
Yeah.
Also, I could have 6 figures, and I'm too old to even enjoy it because I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
There's plenty of examples of people who've worked their asses off their whole life. They make a shit ton of money, and then they don't enjoy it.
Oh, I know.
Because now they're too
point.
old to actually want to enjoy the things they did when they were younger.
Yeah.
I don't want that.
Or they're in their 50s and they're divorced, and they don't know what to do.
Exactly. Or they've got a bunch of money and they don't know what to do either because they're young and they don't care about the things that were exciting for them when they were younger.
I hope when I get older and if I can, be comfortable, I want to still do stuff that I always wanted to do.
I want to enjoy the life that I have, but also know that the hard work that I put in should be compensated well for what I do.
Oh yeah, and
and I know for some that may be a millennial mindset, and I hate using that term, but I have to at this point. I have to use it, but it's it's like work is like a relationship, right? If you're going to be in a relationship with somebody, it's never going to be perfect, right?
No.
There's always going to be flaws, and there's things that you're willing to work with because everything else benefits you, right?
Because you're a terrible person.
But if you're in a place where the benefits aren't good enough for you to deal with that stuff, it's time to move on.
Yeah.
And
yep.
It applies both in the workplace and in a relationship, right? If work isn't willing to compromise or give you the benefits of the hard work you put in, then I'm not willing to put up with any of the other things to do.
Yeah.
And
so you can clean off.
Sue me for being a millennial, but at the same time, again, it's that line that you toe between efficiency and laziness. Mm-hmm. And if I could be efficient and get it done in the time that I need to get done and still enjoy the rest of my life around my day or the week or the year or whatever, that's how I'd rather do it. But communicating that to a generation that doesn't understand that is incredibly difficult, if not even impossible, because they come from a generation where you had to work 50, 60, 70 hours a week because society needed you to. There was either a Great War, there was a Great Depression, there was a lot of things in society that required people to work really, really hard. And we live in a world where
sacrifice a whole hell of a lot.
Yeah, because they had to, because society needed them to. But we live in a world where everybody's the safest they've ever been.
And no one realizes that too, by the way.
Yeah.
No one actually wants to realize that this is the greatest fucking time in the face of this country.
It's the safest anybody will ever be.
It's the safest, and believe it or not, when anyone fucking tells you it's the least amount of racism, like, I swear to God, like, it's the safest, it's the most prosperous. I mean, capitalism is incredible. Like, the shit you can have done in this country, if you went even back like 10 years, 20 years, like, I feel like that would blow people's minds. What you're able to do.
It would. And
what you can do with this piece of technology that we carry around, the government spy devices that we carry around with us.
Anything with a MAC address, right?
Anything with a MAC address and a NIC card and all sorts of good stuff.
And that's sad. I'll talk a little bit on that, right? There's a couple people in this world,
people not being grateful,
who've gone out of their way to share the truth.
Like, what do you mean?
Right? So here's a good example. I'm going to put this out there. Edward Snowden.
Oh, dear.
is going to go down in the history books as a traitor.
Criminal.
He will be going down in the history books as a traitor.
Yeah.
He's going to be a traitor because he was giving the truth.
Yeah.
And that's very unfortunate that one person is going to be labeled forever. He's
going to be blacklisted for the entire country.
His living legacy is that he tried to give the truth, and how he's going to be labeled as a traitor.
Yeah.
Right?
I know.
And some people argue the same way for Trump, whether you like him or not, whether he's great on Twitter or not.
Yeah.
Whatever your view is on the man, he's the only one who's willing to take a stand and take the brunt
and just not give a shit
about
what anyone thinks.
Right?
Yeah.
People light him up for everything he does, and he's willing to actually take it and move forward with it, whereas I don't think anybody could do what he does.
No, I mean, he was.
It's not that they couldn't do the job.
Yeah,
it's that you're doing the job,
but
while having
the willingness,
the world looking at you from the social media.
Well, first of all, you're a conservative president, so you're gonna have shit from the media constantly, anyways. Right. But like, dude was a billionaire, still is. But like, having that, I can't imagine. Like, I mean, I get a little peek behind the curtain of some billionaires' lives,
right,
because of my work, and I could not imagine the sacrifice and the complete atmosphere change that you would have to go through, and that you would be willing to accept from going from that status,
a comfortable
type of lifestyle, and then just all of a sudden having the most important job in the country and knowing you're going to get shit on by the media constantly, and everyone else in the country.
Why would Trump leave a comfortable billionaire lifestyle?
Because trust me, it was probably very comfortable.
Where rappers used to rap about how they wanted to be a billionaire like them,
and they used to rap about how they wanted
and
to be like Donald Trump.
And they rapped about how they liked him.
I know,
but now we live in a world where the man stepped up into presidency, and just because of that, the media has now swayed everybody's perspective of the man.
Yeah, now
think that he's a horrible person.
Now there's a rap video of people bringing on, picking out kids from the crowd and saying, "Hey, you better say fuck Trump." And then he refused to, and then they were like, "Get him the fuck out of here."
That's ridiculous.
I saw that, and that made me so mad. I was like, wow, that is just so incredibly shitty. Like, and it's the hypocrisy, like you said. Like, they used to talk so well about him,
yeah,
and want to be like him. But
now
it's like,
he's
racist, he's evil.
I mean, look at Iran, right? Like,
where's racist in the thesaurus? Hang on, let me find all of the words that I can call.
There's a laundry list of things that took place between Iran and America, and a lot of the institutions that we had overseas legally.
Yeah.
That they've taken advantage of, and we finally said that's enough and did one thing about it, and now it's getting lit up thinking that it was all out of nowhere.
And
it's ridiculous. I mean, they attacked the U.S. Embassy. They attacked the troops. Like, they did all sorts of things.
And then the one time we're like, you know what? Nah, fuck this. We're not having any of this right now. We're gonna kill your leader, who's a terrible, terrible person, is responsible for hundreds of deaths of Americans.
And now instead of being unified as a country, like to fight like an actual cause,
you have the news.
No, Trump made a mistake and he's a fucking idiot. Are you kidding me?
And the news is like, like just so somber and, you know, pretending like they just, they you know, like the, what was the al-Baghdadi or whatever the guy's name? Well, he's got that guy got, you know, was killed, which is great because, and then, you know, the, what was it in the Washington, it was either the New York Times, the Washington Post, where they were like, they referred to him as an austere religious scholar.
That's ridiculous.
Not evil shithead terrorist like that's responsible for so many deaths. Like, no, the media's got to like mourn over a terrorist death and show pictures of their funeral and be like, how could he have been a terrible person if he, you know, this many people, like, really? That's why people,
that in itself,
that's why this
is
Ruth
why
is
we're
bad.
Called doomers, right? We see this and it's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's like, how?
Why would I want to live in a world where it's very clear that he was a bad person?
I know.
And the world is still defending him.
The media is defending him.
It's ridiculous.
It's sad.
And unfortunately, a lot of these people in this world listen to the media and don't actually make their own opinion for themselves. Mm-hmm. They just listen. They let other people tell them what their opinion should be.
Oh, I know.
And then you're ostracized if you have a differing opinion from that.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate, right? We don't live in a world where people talk out problems anymore. Yeah. You're ostracized or you're shamed into oblivion until you don't exist as a person anymore. When was the last time you heard from Milo Yiannopoulos?
You know what? Man, I'm glad you brought that up because I miss that guy.
Yeah, he was ostracized and shamed into oblivion where he no longer has a presence on the internet. You could probably go and find your way around it.
And what's crazy is I don't know because I've never like actually actively looked a whole hell of a lot for him. But like I do know that like along with him and like Gavin McInnes and stuff, like a lot of those guys like just got completely deplatformed everywhere.
Yeah.
Like YouTube, you know, Instagram, Facebook, all of it.
And that's the unfortunate reality of the world we live in is that, you know,
you have a differing opinion, so we're going to shut down your entire internet presence.
It all ties back to
it's insane.
The fact that we live in a gray world. We don't live in a black and white world, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've got some really good things you can take from people who have succeeded from the past. And then you've got some things that are really good that you can take to help you get where you need to go, right?
Yeah.
But we live in a world where old is bad, new is good, and that's it. It's very black and white.
Orange man bad.
But we live in a world where that's not a reality.
Yeah.
Right? It's because the media perpetuates black or white. It's either bad or it's good. It's red or it's blue. It's black or it's white.
Or left.
It's right or it's wrong. Like it's incredibly difficult because we live in a world that's very, very, very gray. You know, there's benefits of the conservative side and there's benefits of the left side, right? There are.
Really?
Yes.
Wait.
I don't care if you're gay.
Like what?
I don't care if you're transgender.
Well, I didn't say gay was.
I don't care if you want to cut your dick off. It doesn't affect my life.
Yeah.
Now, if I have to bend my life,
if I have to bend my rules to fit to make you feel better about yourself.
If it doesn't directly affect me, I don't care what you do.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we live in a world
why we would be
where
considered
it's very
libertarians.
one-sided.
Yeah.
If I decide to do what I want to do, I'm shamed for it. But if somebody else on the left side decides to do it, then they're
praised for it.
Praised for it.
Yeah. They're stunning and brave. Stunning and brave.
Oh, God.
So yeah, I don't know. I'm getting tired head just talking about it. I have to ease myself back into this atmosphere of bitching and ranting about stuff. Yeah. And I don't know how much longer I can do this. I'm just kidding.
We've had so much time to actually rant.
I know, and there's a lot of stuff that I really would like want to talk about, but because I don't know, the last, let's just say 6 months, so much has happened.
And there has. Jeffrey
Epstein got suicided. And then there was, like all these other crazy news stories that happened. Like the two guys, us. That was a big win for Trump. The two terrorists getting killed. There was the leader of ISIS, al-Baghdadi, and then there was Soleimani, I think was his name.
I think his name is Soleimani.
And he got killed. So, yay Trump and everything else. So, but I don't know. It is what it is. There was a lot of cool ass like wins too for I guess you could say, I don't even know if you'd call them conservative, but they would be there. They were very wins there were big wins and important things that happened that needed to, along the lines of, hey, you know what? We're pointing out the obvious here, and maybe people should actually realize this and think. One being, very recently, the last week, Ricky Gervais on the Golden Globes. That I watched that so many times because I was slow. I was slow clapping. And I was just like, man, this guy. I think he's actually. I'm pretty sure he's pretty left leaning too.
Yeah.
And he's also an atheist too, I think. Yep. And it's funny because it's like, you would consider him to be on the opposite side of the aisle, but he's sitting there roasting Hollywood. And
the media is destroying them. And the media is gonna place him under alt-right, which is unfair because he's not. He's pretty left.
He's actually
most people don't realize that Trump is pretty left.
He's pretty libertarian.
He went to the Conservative Party because that was his guaranteed win. Right? He looked at the pendulum swing of where politics go for presidency.
But I also think he
left and then it goes right, and then it goes left and then it goes right. And he placated that.
Maybe.
And he's got some conservative views, but overall, he's a pretty left person.
I also think I disagree. I wouldn't say he's that left at all.
He supports the gay community,
and that's fine.
And I'm not saying that's the only example.
So if you're saying he's the most progressive conservative president, yeah, I could agree with that because no other conservative president
prior to his presidency, if you look at his history, as a person, he's a pretty left
dude. Yeah, when you put him aside,
the only thing that really made him conservative by any means was his need for business success. That was about it. Yeah, at least prior to his presidency. Nowadays,
but I think his presidency was a little bit more important than just right or left. I think it's a big old middle finger to the government and the hypocrites on the news and all sorts of shit. But don't yawn, damn it, Nick. Why? We still have 5 more hours to go. What are you talking about?
I'm old now.
You're old.
I'm what the younger generation would call a boomer now, unfortunately.
Did you get called a boomer by an 18-year-old? You're I'm 26. Fuck you, dude.
And I'm called a boomer by that. But
I hate kids nowadays.
That's
me being an old man.
I know.
But
I really want to circle back to the level of importance that I wish people in our age bracket would understand. The last time a generation like ours has gone through a revolution was the Industrial Revolution, right? And that changed the face of the world around you. And the internet did too, right? It's
oh, that's
I can't underestimate
life-changing
or understate how incredibly difficult and how incredibly different our lives are going to be compared to other generations. Because my sister, who's 2 years younger than I am, is not old enough to understand what life was like prior to the internet. So she's growing up with social media and the internet, and your mindset changes because from the age 0 to 25, your brain is developing.
Yeah.
And if you're too young, you're not going to remember that. But if you're just in that sweet spot like you and I are, now we have the struggles of understanding what it's like to be very conservative and traditional and how important that is. But that there is some leniency and some efficiency on the future of the world.
Yeah,
right? And it's a balance, but unfortunately we live in a world that's
good change. And that's incredibly subjective.
It is, and it's subjective because we live in a world that doesn't like subjective. We live in a world that's black and white, it's red or blue, it's right and wrong. There's no gray area to anything in this world anymore, right? I could argue that there's a lot of really great things from the conservative side, and that's why I'll lean that way. But there's also a lot of things on the left side that I actually kind of appreciate about this day and age. Right? Yeah. I don't mind individual rights. I don't mind that people are gay or transgender or want to cut their dicks off or whatever it is.
I don't care. As you said, as long as it doesn't affect me, I don't care.
Right?
It's
a rule thing, right? It's the people who are the loudest unfortunately get their ways. And the Conservative Party is very quiet. We're the silent majority. Trump wouldn't have won the popular vote if it wasn't by the silent majority.
I don't think he won the popular vote, did he?
I thought he...
I think Hillary actually won the popular vote, but thanks to the Electoral College, This country isn't a full blown just straight up democracy.
Yeah, you're right.
Because that's why we have the electoral college, is so we can't have a city with millions and millions
thank God
of people.
For that.
Yeah,
because I see people around me all the time. I'm like, wow, those people are also voting.
Yeah, I know, right? And that's also why I think it's sad that that the vote they want to lower the voting age to 16 because they're so fucking desperate. It's sad.
Yeah, and they want to get rid of old people too. Did you hear about that?
What?
Yeah,
they get rid of old people. How so?
Sorry,
what?
not like vacating them from like the lives they exist in.
Not like putting them in camps or anything, right?
No,
that sounds
they
terrible.
They want to make it to where older people can't vote anymore because it's not quote unquote their country.
Oh yeah, I see why they would want to do that, because most old people are conservative.
Yes, exactly.
Because they were on the beginning of that trajectory left.
Well, and that's the thing that I don't understand about people, and whether you're left or right, if you're loud,
you get more attention.
Usually, you get more attention.
Yeah,
and
like
it's
a
usually
fucking
because
child.
you're very emotional,
and you're very childish.
You're childish. When you're loud, you're childish.
You childish.
Right? If you actually take a second to think logically about the situation and actually have an open discussion about it, you can learn a lot about the people around you.
Yeah, I know. That's why I like having. That's why I appreciate. When people like Ben Shapiro have on other people that are completely like they're on the complete opposite side of the aisle.
Right.
I think it's really interesting when they have,
I don't want
those
to
types of
listen. I
conversations.
don't want to listen to people who
just
only
agree.
Only have people who are going to agree with them. I like when people have contradictory points because you can learn a lot from that.
Yeah, that's
true.
true.
For some people on the right, they think that old way is the only way.
Yeah.
And then for the people on the left, if it's old, it's bad.
Yeah.
But again, we live in a world where if you think realistically,
it's so ridiculous.
It should be gray, and it's not. And that's the point that I've been trying to make this whole time is that, nobody understands that because nobody knows how to communicate with each other. I don't know how to communicate with somebody who's 18 because I don't understand deep fried memes. I don't.
Okay.
And I don't know how to communicate. And I don't know how to communicate with old people because they don't know how to communicate at all.
What is a fried meme?
A deep fried meme. It's like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's ridiculous.
That's all right. Don't worry about it.
It's deep fried because it means that I don't understand it. I'm a boomer because I don't understand it.
I hate everything.
Like, basically, if you were to oversaturate an image and then put like the most grotesque font and then it says charm with 2 dots over the A.
Oh yeah.
And then you're supposed to look at that image and be like, wow, that's actually relatable.
Dude, that's so like artistic. That's so deep.
It's just relatable.
It's
that's
retarded.
all it is, right? I mean, memes are inherently relatable, and that's why people find them funny.
Yeah.
Because we live in a world where nobody knows how to communicate except for through memes.
Except for through memes. Yeah, I know.
Because it's like, oh, that's relatable. I find that hilarious.
I know, and because I still have friends that will get mad at me when I call them. Yeah. And they're like, dude, just text me. I'm like, no, fuck you.
Yeah.
I have like so many things to say right now.
Yeah. And I don't want to waste my time texting you.
I don't have time to crane my neck downwards and look like an absolute retard, and just text and text and text.
And see, texting to an 18-year-old is a boomer way of doing things.
What is it all like?
It's all Snapchat.
It's all
Snapchat. Or whatever's next.
It blows my mind how fast things change, too.
And that's what people don't understand. And I've made this comment before, right? I could tie it back to like the 60%, right? With the relationships and divorce rate. Mm-hmm. We live in a world where,
what?
The train's leaving the station. Can you remind me what we were just talking about?
The communication barrier between old people.
Yes, thank you so much.
And boomers and Gen
arguably, for our demographic, there's a general rule in society that says if you're within a certain age gap, the relationship can still work, right? And that's because prior to the internet revolution, the generation gap was a lot bigger because things moved a lot slower.
Oh, yeah.
But because of Moore's Law,
that's why
the age of the internet, everything is exponential, meaning that it's no longer a
10-year difference.
10-year gap. It's a 2-year gap. And it's only going to get smaller.
A 10-year gap wasn't that big a deal.
Yeah. I mean, if you were to look at the age gaps.
Now it's a little big of a deal.
From past generations.
Yeah.
It was a significant gap. And now there's a gap between me and my sister. 2 years.
That's a long time, bro.
And she's
you know
2 years younger than me.
You know how many meme cycles that is? That's a lot.
A lot of meme cycles, right?
That's like 8
but that's why
million news
relationships
cycles.
don't work much anymore either, because when you've got such a small window of what people consider relatable or what they find interesting or what makes them happy, as
your
far
window
as
shrinks.
Their window shrinks. And it's not to say that once you get past a particular age that you can't make an age gap work. It's that it's going to be more difficult because now the way they communicate is totally different. And that's what makes things so difficult nowadays, is that especially when you've got Tinder and Bumble and all these things where you're just swiping left
Don't
and right.
forget Grindr, Nick.
Or Grindr, if you're into that. When you've got these kind of apps where it's swiping left or right based on how people look and what their bio says about them, you don't really get the time to understand these people. And then when you actually spend the time with them and you realize you don't communicate very well.
I don't know this 18-year-old. Like, I don't understand you.
It's not impossible, but it's very difficult. And you have to learn. And communication is the most important thing about humanity that people don't realize. It really is. Yeah. Communication is the most important thing. And if you want to be effective, if you want to be efficient in any way possible in making it in this world, you have to learn how to communicate. And unfortunately, you and I live in that sweet spot where we've got two different types of generations, and communication becomes very difficult because there are very stark differences. And I just find it very difficult. And I haven't found an answer to that yet, because if I talk to somebody who's older, they're going to tell me
I know
boomer advice. And if I talk to somebody who's younger, they don't even know how the world works yet.
Maybe that's one thing that you're stronger at, is that I feel like you can, like, at least act like you understand people more than I do. You're really good at that. I suck at that. That's why I feel like you would be so much better at your job than if I were you doing your job, if that makes any sense.
And I struggle.
Bro.
And I struggle. I'm serious. I struggle. I talk to people all the time.
You just like talking to people because you can. I feel like we're in public and you're talking to people and I'm trying to get you to come along, and you're so good at pretending like you're interested in or contribute to the conversation more. And I'm just like, man, I don't know how you do that.
Well, what I've been able to garner is we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, right? There's two different types of people in this world. There's people who think of others first and then themselves. And then there's people who think of themselves first and then others. And depending on how you were raised and the kind of childhood you had defines you as either one of those two people. And what I've been given, it's a blessing and a curse, right? I'm good at being empathetic and putting myself in other people's shoes. So when I talk to these strangers, I'm talking to them the way that I wish that people would talk to me. That's what makes me so good at it.
I get you.
And that's a rarity, especially nowadays in this world where everything's instant gratification. It's all about validation and the dopamine levels being the highest they can be at all times.
Yeah.
People can't communicate that way, right? It's
people don't know what it's like to just be friendly and small talk. And
if you break down a lot of the things that we find enjoyment and validation from, it's a communication thing. If I have somebody who can validate what I'm going through, then him and I are probably going to, me or her, probably going to have, thank you. It's 2020. I got to make sure that I'm, gender neutral in the way that I identify people. It's a validation, right? Memes are memes because they're relatable. and when you have something that's relatable, it becomes a meme and it's a way of communicating.
Yes.
And that's why if I send you a meme, you're probably going to understand 9 out of 10 of them. And if I send the same thing to my dad or if I send the same thing to my sister.
He's going to be like, he's going to send you back W-U-T. What?
Yeah, like what? Like, I don't get it. And that's fine. But I just wish that more people would go out of their way to try to communicate or at least understand where people are coming from. But we live in a world where it's very hostile. It's very harsh. You're ostracized. You're shamed for having a differing opinion. And we're all different. But we live in a world where everybody's trying to be equal, and we're not. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We're not equal.
Yeah. Speaking of equality, I'm gonna just. Did you make all the points that you would like to make?
I believe so.
Okay, because I'm gonna do something that we don't normally do, and I want to get your opinion and your feedback while we're on the air.
Sure.
If you will. But like I always keep like a list of some topics like that we could talk about in future like recordings / episodes, whatever. I've got a handful of mine here, and I don't know. There's just some that I feel like I've wanted to talk about. We just never got around to it. Or we kind of touched on it and then left. The train had left the station fairly quickly.
Yep.
But like there are a few like diversity is a lie. That's that's one that I would like to maybe just dabble into just a little bit. The greatness of capitalism is one, obviously. We touch on that one frequently, I feel like. Social media and its impact, kind of. Dieting, working out, legalization of all drugs. That hypothetical, where you'd go with that one. Wealth and success / lottery talk. That's an interesting hypothetical to kick around. Yeah. I'm trying to remember what sparked me to write this down, but I put street justice / instability of our emotions. Like, what would you do if a family member of yours was murdered and you know exactly who it was? And like, what would you do? Like, that's really fucked up to think, but like, do you have a feeling that like I would go on an absolute fucking rampage?
Yes, but
I might do some serious crazy shit.
But we live in a world where you can't even
talk about that. Well, maybe we shouldn't then. Fuck it.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but we're not. I don't care. I don't care what people think.
So life has its way of working in stages, right? You've got your 25 first years of your life, which is all developmental. And the majority of your 25 years is usually through education. Not that education doesn't have its benefits, but education as a whole is very corrupt.
Well,
and the reason why I say that is because it's run by a lot of progressives. And again, there's good and bad with that. And I need to make sure that I make that very clear, because there's a lot of things you can learn in your developmental years about what's great about thinking
before you
progressively.
Oh. Yes.
But it ties back to what I was saying earlier. The progressive people, old is bad, new is good. There's no in between.
I hate
right?
that.
And that's what proves difficult in this world where you can't convince somebody that there's a give and take from both. Right? If you're raising my child in the education system and you don't make them understand the past accurately, they're not going to understand how to live in a world after they're done with school. Because what school does is it doesn't prep you for the real world.
Before you go on a rant about that too, because I know we don't have all the time in the world, but that is one topic. That is another that I need to add to my list right now, that I would not mind having your significant other on for just, at a later date, because she a teacher, is she not?
She is a teacher, so she's got some firsthand experience with it.
I would love to.
But she's also a minority because she has some particular views that make her a smaller minority of most people who think in the education system.
No way.
And
you mean she's not like every other liberal fucktard out there?
Unfortunately, not.
Oh, okay. That's cool. That's good. I would expect nothing less
I say
from
unfortunately,
you.
yet it's also the greatest thing I've ever had in my life.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. You're sweet.
But the point that I get at and that I like about having this avenue to communicate is that, in a lot of ways, in a lot of ways, I find myself very conservative in a lot of things, and for good reason, right? I would argue that it's better in a lot of ways, but I have to say that there are some things that are good about the left, right? And again, it ties back to the fact that what got you to where you are here now isn't going to get you where you need to be. But we live in a world where if you give a little bit, people are going to take all of it.
Yes.
And when they take all of it, now you have none of it. Right?
That's why taxes blow.
Yeah.
But anyways, was there anything else you would love to talk about?
I could talk for hours.
I know you could, but we don't have time for that shit, Nick.
But this is our unveiling of a hiatus episode, and it
so
is
pathetic,
all over the map. But hey, you know what? We had a good time. I enjoyed it, and let's do it again sometime. Hopefully, not in 8 months.
Yeah, we'll see everyone in 8 months. No, I'm just kidding. But we need to do this more often.
We do. I missed it. The 11 subscribers missed it.
It's fun. Half of them are bots.
Yeah, half of them are people that we know. It's fine.
Yeah, whatever.
But we will definitely be doing this more often.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I'm excited for some of the guests that we have planned.
Oh yeah,
forward
that too. I have a list of those
to provide
too.
some really good perspective. Perspective is important.
And differing opinions, believe it or not.
Yeah,
We've done that in the past.
Yeah, we're not always in one particular aisle without considering other people's opinions.
Yeah, we're somewhat
whether they're right or the
civilized.
wrong, it doesn't matter as long as we have an open conversation about it. I think that's what's
We're
important.
kind of civilized. We'll just put it that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
For the most part.
All right.
Well, on that
Fine.
note, time to end for the night.
Yeah.